What's going on, guys? Welcome back. We are at episode number 9 of the show today. This one's going to be a good one. I think you guys already know. Well, you definitely do because you saw the title. What this is mainly going to be about. I really don't have too many other topics other than just this main one because this is the main thing that's happened this week. So I'm going to touch on that. This episode probably won't be as long as the other ones, but real quick before we get into that, in other news that's going on, there's a Hurricane Ida, I believe, on its way toward Louisiana, Mississippi, New Orleans area. I'm not from Louisiana or Mississippi or Florida or any area that gets a lot of hurricane action. Like, basically, I don't live on the coast is what I'm saying. So, I don't pay a whole lot of attention to it, to be honest, because, if anything, it'll rain a little bit here, and that's that. But apparently this one's supposed to be one of the bigger ones that we've had on the year. So if you live in Louisiana or Mississippi or any of those areas where the hurricane is supposed to hit at its hardest, be safe. You guys kind of know the drill by now with the hurricanes. But again, I think when this comes out on Monday, the hurricane's supposed to hit on Sunday, I think. So it'll probably have already hit by the time you guys hear this. But just be safe and take care. Now, moving on to today's topic. I don't know how far I'm going to get in depth. I don't know where this is going to go. I have a couple little mental points in my head that I've kind of been pondering over the past few days that I do want to talk about regarding the situation. So we'll see where this goes. We'll see how long this ends up. But this is definitely a topic that everyone's talking about. Whether you're involved in politics or not. Like, people post on their stories about it and everything. Whether they actually care or not. You don't know. It's just kind of it's the norm to do when something like this happens. Everybody posts on their Snapchat, or not even really Snapchat, but especially their Instagram. They'll reshare someone's post, and I'm mainly talking about people that I know that either don't follow politics or don't care as much about it, I guess. They'll post their stuff about it when something like this happens, and again, whether they actually care or not, or they do it because it's kind of quote unquote what you're supposed to do, no one really knows. But anyways, as you all know, a couple of days ago, at the time I'm recording this, it's Saturday, so details that I talk about, there could be new stuff that comes out after I record this by the time this uploads on Monday. So I might not have all the specific details of what happened and everything at this time, because I still a lot of the news has came out at this point, because it was a couple days ago. But I do think there's still some points and some kind of specific time frame and stuff that hasn't been released yet, or hasn't been evaluated enough yet. I don't know how to explain it, but basically what I'm trying to say is the information that I have is as current of Saturday afternoon. So again, as you guys know, a couple days ago on, I believe it was Friday. No, not Friday. It was Thursday, August the 26th. 13 plus however many that are in critical condition. 13 U.S. soldiers were killed in Afghanistan at the airport due to a suicide bombing. You guys already know this. It's all over the news. It's all over Instagram. It's all over, the conservative media platform. Now, this has been a wake-up call. And I, like I said earlier, I have a few mental notes that I wanted to go through and talk about that kind of ties into what I talked about on last episodes regarding the Afghanistan situation, that even furthers my point on the whole situation that's going on over there. And what happened a couple days ago, makes me believe even further in what I said before about what I believe the United States should do about Afghanistan. And there's a couple reasons for that. So, starting off, if you haven't heard any of my previous shows where I've talked about Afghanistan, I said that I do believe that we should completely pull troops out of the area, which supposedly is what's supposed to be going on right now, but, there's a little bit of hold up. And I also said in the last episode that I get that, but at the same time, like, there needs to be more urgency. And I'll talk about that more a little bit later. But I said on previous episodes that I believe that we should get troops out of Afghanistan. It's been 20 years and we have very little to show for it. And then this happened, and that made me even more strong on my point that I believe it's time to go. It's time to go. Now, there's a lot of people, it's kind of back and forth, but I know there are some people out there that want, like, big, full-blown retaliation for the suicide attacks, and here's why I don't believe that that's the way to go. Imagine for a second that we did decide to go that route with the, kind of full-blown retaliation, make them pay for what they did, and there's some, there's some, I don't know, what's the word here, like, there's some value to that, I guess. That doesn't really make sense, but, like, what I'm trying to say is, like, I can see why people would want to do that, but imagine we do that. Think about for a second, who are the people that are going to be in charge of leading that retaliation? It's going to be Biden and his administration, and look where that has gotten us. Why would we want to do that, especially with who is in our leadership right now? Why? After what has happened the past couple weeks, why would we risk more lives just to try and seem like the bad, United States? We got to get our revenge. A lot of people like that. But at the same time, like, you got to think logically. Is it worth more 20-year-olds' lives? Because that's what's going to happen. If we do that, there will be more casualties. There will be more suicide attacks. And look who is in office. Look who is in leadership. Biden's the commander-in-chief. He's supposed to be overlooking what is going on with the armed forces. That's just the way it is. And, people will be, like, in my DMs and stuff, be like, well, Biden wasn't elected. And, like, okay, but he's in office. He's the commander-in-chief. Like, whether you think he was elected fairly or not it's irrelevant, because he's in office and his actions have an impact on our service people's lives, and that's what matters. That's what matters. At least in this context, that's what matters. I do not feel comfortable with more intervention in the Middle East when Biden and his people are leading the show. Like, that's just the way it is. You would think that this scenario and what happened in this situation would kind of make people realize, like, alright, it's time to get out. Like, this shouldn't even happen. But there are people that want, like, more troops in the area for that. And, a lot of people don't agree with that, but I know there are people that do, and I just wanted to make that point clear. It's like, why would you want to put more of our men and women in the armed forces in danger especially when the leader is not, I wouldn't say competent, but, we're getting there. He's not assertive enough for being the president. And what I mean by that is when he talks and speaks, and, like, when you watch him, he doesn't have a presence. He's too passive, and no one, especially, like, unless you actually support Biden, no one takes anything he says seriously. They don't, and that's why what happened in Afghanistan happened. Because he said, we're going to remove troops from the area, we're going to do this, and then you look at the way that he presents himself when he's speaking and how he speaks, no one takes what he says seriously unless you like Biden. They don't. And that's why this happened. A lot of people didn't like Trump because he was very straightforward, to the point, and he didn't care what people thought about what he said or how he said it. And that's what you need in a president. And whether you like it or, people don't like it because, it's Trump, and, people on the left don't like it because they don't like his policies or they don't like him or whatever the reason is for not liking him. But what I'm trying to say is whether it's a Republican or Democrat or whoever it is in office, they need to be assertive and upfront as the president, as a leader. They can't be showing weakness, basically, is what I'm trying to say, and that's a big reason for why this happened. He needs to be more assertive and aggressive in pushing the withdrawal, because he says we're gonna get it done, it's happening, but there's no authority behind it, is what I'm trying to say. He needs to be more assertive and be like, all right, get them out now. And he doesn't really seem to be doing that, and that's the problem. Again, I said it before, withdrawals like this are not a one-day thing. Whether you want to acknowledge that or not, that's the truth. But the issue is that he's not pushing it hard enough. If you're a veteran or you're in the military, you've probably heard your leaders say, figure it out. Whether for whatever it is, you got something to do, and they'll be like, you'll ask them or however it goes, and then they'll tell you to figure it out. I kind of know a little bit about that. This needs to be one of those situations where Biden or somebody higher up in command needs to be all right, we need to figure it out and get it done. You need to get it done. And not kind of just, letting days pass where it's just kind of all over the place. And that's the issue. They need to figure it out. So August the 31st, which I believe is Tuesday, is supposed to be the deadline for withdrawing all American citizens from the Capitol. And this car's about to back into me. I'm not going to be happy if they hit me. But August 31st is supposed to be the deadline. The Taliban has said that, they're not going to extend it, whatever that means. And Biden has said that they might need to extend it. They need to get this done. Like I said, figure it out. It's been, 2 weeks? 2 weeks or so? At this point, after what happened on Thursday, there needs to be more urgency to get people out and just leave. At this point, it's just going to continue to cost more lives if we continue to just kind of, I wouldn't say mess around is the right word, but not pick up the urgency a little bit, and for Biden to not actually stand his ground, be the leader that he's supposed to be, that's the key word there. He needs to stand up and actually assert himself, is what you know what I'm talking about if you watch him talk and listen to him. There's a complete difference in how he does it and how Donald Trump would address the situation. And people who don't acknowledge that fact, they just don't want to talk about it. And it is what it is. You're not going to change those people's minds, but it honestly is kind of frustrating that they don't hold people in the same position to the same standards. You would think that would make sense, but it doesn't when it comes to politics. It's one side. One side gets all the breaks in the world, and the other side, when they do something that's very similar, they get completely criticized and destroyed for it. You know what I'm talking about. I don't need to explain this. It just goes on and on and on. Another thing I wanted to talk about, that this really irritates me, and this is nothing new. Like, this happens all the time, with every situation. It's not just this. It's literally everything. But the media's involvement is really, really AIDS. Like, it's cancerous how bad the media has just caused things to go. Like, this is on them just as much as it is on the leadership, because they don't talk about the news and the truth in the same way for someone in the same position. Like, what I'm saying is, they don't imagine. I posted this on my story, my Instagram. Like, at this point it'll be down because it was on Friday, but I said, imagine if what happened with the suicide attacks in Afghanistan, imagine if that happened when Trump was president. Imagine what the CNN and all the news outlets, basically except for Fox, would have said. They would have absolutely destroyed Donald Trump. They would be calling for his impeachment, court-martial, remove him from office, all this. They did it over a phone call. Imagine what they would have done if this happened under Trump. And what are they doing with Biden? Nothing. They're not saying anything about it. They're not, they're reporting on it. They're just saying that it happened. But that would not be to the extent that they would go if this was under Donald Trump. And that's what irritates me, is they don't hold the news media. It's one thing for citizens and people who, just like regular people to not, because they don't either they don't know any better, they don't care, but it's like, it's their own opinion, so like, there's only so much you can do about that. But what's really annoying is when news companies do it, and like media outlets do it. And yes, they have a right to do it, but you would hope that they would have a little bit more integrity to kind of tell it how it is, instead of kind of evading what really went on and what's really the truth and about, you guys know what I'm trying to say. You would hope that they would tell it as the way it is on both sides. And the reason that they don't is because that's not what sells. People that watch CNN don't want to hear their news anchors rip into Biden. They don't. And that brings up another issue, is why media companies do that. They do it because that's not what sells, and that eventually comes back on the people, as we're like, all right, we have to start demanding that they report on the news as it is, like how it actually is, not skewed in any way. And that's kind of the same thing for right-wing media companies. It's like, we have to want to know what the truth is, the straight facts of what's going on. And people say, well, there's his truth. That's true, but I think in a sense with everything, there is one overall truth, if you get what I'm saying. And we need to start demanding that news outlets report on that truth, because they won't, because that's not what sells. But if that's what sells, they'll start doing it. You know what I'm saying? So that was another thing with the whole situation this week that just really irritated me, is they don't hold him to the same standard as they would Trump or really any other Republican. They don't. And that irritates me. And it is what it is. Like, this is not the first time that's happened. It literally happens with everything. Everything that happens in, Afghanistan or in the United States. If it happened under Biden, they wouldn't talk about it. Or if they would just kind of report on what happened and not like the more specific details. And that's the way it is, unfortunately. But that's one of my pet peeves, to be honest. Is when people, like news companies, just completely don't hold people in the same position. They're in the same position. They're both president. They were both president. They don't hold people to the same position, to the same standard. And it would make sense that you would do that. That's not what sells. It's not what sells. So again, I believe there were 13 U.S. service people killed. I believe it was 11 men and 2 women. I also think that there are wounded and injured. So, we'll kind of see the update on that. And then also, they came out yesterday and said that there was a drone strike attack on the people who organized the suicide attacks. That's great and all. But here's the thing, we shouldn't be focusing on that right now. The goal of this administration should be getting our people out of Afghanistan, period. Why we did this before making sure that everyone was evacuated when that should be the top priority, I don't know. I guess could be for distraction of what, the disaster that happened over there. That could be it. People have, sent me that on Instagram and stuff saying oh, it's a distraction, from what's really going on. And it could be. They want people to forget. But people will not forget. But I just wanted to mention that because, they want to act like they're going to retaliate and stuff, but that's not what should be our main priority. Again, we need to make sure that everyone's out. Now. After what's gone on this week, there's no excuse for there to be any other priority other than to evacuate U.S. citizens from Afghanistan. I don't understand why there would be any other priority, especially after what just happened on Thursday. Why would we have any other priority right now in that region? There's stuff going on here, whatever, but there should be no other reason or priority other than evacuation. Period. I can only emphasize that enough because I'm not the president. I don't have any control over what goes on over there. I can just say my opinions, and maybe some people will listen. I don't know. Maybe not, but I can only say so much. But at the end of the day, it's on the leadership. It's on the leadership to make it happen, to figure it out. And it needs to get done by the deadline, like they said. It's as simple as that, really. If there wasn't the urgency that there needed to be before the attacks, well, there better be now. So, I guess we'll see what happens. We'll see if we actually get everyone out by the 31st. I would be surprised because it doesn't really look like we're on pace for that. I don't remember if it was Biden or someone else said that it was basically not going to happen, that we would be out. They would have to extend the deadline, the projected deadline for when they would have everyone out. But the urgency needs to be there now, if it wasn't already. And I don't know if it was. People say whatever, but it needs to be there now. I forgot to put up the question poll on my story this week again. Should set a reminder on my phone or something to do it, because I forget every week. And then this week I had to record early because I have something going on tomorrow and I just forgot. So hopefully we'll get that next week. I'm sure there'll be some good ones, especially after what happened this week. But I forgot, unfortunately. So we'll have to push that back to next week. But that's about going to wrap it up. Like, I really don't have any other topics to talk about with you guys. Like, that's just what's going on. Like, that's what's going on. So, I just want to say before we go that to everyone who passed away over there, your friends and family, we're thinking about you, and we're here for you to support you 100%. So, I don't think any of them actually listen to this, but, in case someone that knows anyone who passed away over there hears this, we're here for you, and we're thinking of you, and we support you. So that's going to wrap it up today. We'll see what happens this week. I really don't expect too much of a change in terms of where our leadership's been. The media is not going to change. Obviously, it's going to be the same thing. But we'll see how quickly this evacuation gets done. And every day that it doesn't happen, it just continues to put more lives in danger. More American lives in danger. So, because you never know when something like this would happen. So, it just continues to be more of a threat. So, we'll see what happens. Again, that's going to wrap it up for today. I'll talk to you guys next week. I'm sure we'll have some updates, some other stuff going on. So, again, if you're in the path of the hurricane, be safe. I'll talk to you guys all next week. Have a great one. Peace out.